talk Warriors right now because we've got a little bit of news as they approach the draft. Golden State, of course, has 2 lottery picks, and after Steph Curry's MVP finalist season, there is a lot of talk about the direction this team should go in the next year. We also know that KLAY, after missing last season with a torn Achilles, well, Steve Kerr gave us a little update today. He said KLAY has resumed running, people, so he doesn't just boat around the bay in San Francisco. The man runs as well. Here is the quote. Not full contact yet, Steve says of KLAY. He said he's still always a ways away from actually playing basketball in a 5-on-5 setting. But there is a big step with Achilles when you can actually start running again. It's a huge psychological boost. So, Richard, if the Warriors want to be a contender next season, you got to think KLAY factors into that huge. So what are your expectations for him? And remember, he came out at one point and said in this past year and said, don't expect me to be like 100% of myself off the bat, or maybe not even actually start the first week of the season.
Yeah, no, he should take his time because, you know, the Warriors window is still there, right? And so my expectations for KLAY are just to kind of get going. Like that stroke ain't going nowhere. That wrist, that hand, that jump shot, now to get his legs, to get in the endurance, to becoming the type of player that can put up a Game 6 KLAY, you know, as we know. But I will say this, KLAY is 31. Steph is 33. Like when people start looking at these draft picks, like you have a window to win championships with these two for maybe 3 more years, 4 more years.
Have you been on Warriors Twitter this morning? Because that is pretty much their like constant drumbeat.
I was not. I actually stay away from Warriors Twitter.
Well, that's probably a good idea for you.
But yes. I just think that the Warriors, they have this window right now, and it starts the day that KLAY can start playing again.
Well, I think KLAY is going to be KLAY, right? We watched KD be KD. Everybody was kind of like worrying how he was going to come back off of Achilles tear, and he came back just fine, looking like Kevin Durant of old. When you look at a guy like KLAY Thompson, who don't rely on his explosiveness like a guy like Russell Westbrook, a guy that's just a straight-up sniper, you know, he just basically running. He don't rely on athleticism. I feel like he's going to come back and he still can have an impact, even if he's at 70% to start the season and gradually take it slow. I love what the Brooklyn Nets did with Kevin Durant, monitoring him throughout the season for as sitting him out certain games and certain situations, things to that nature. So I think KLAY is going to be KLAY.
Yeah, and understand this too. There's been a lot of players with this Achilles recently. So, you know, whether it's John Wall, Rudy Gay, Steve Kerr said he talked to Rudy Gay, Boogie Cousins. So there's almost like this camaraderie of guys like, hey, how are you doing? This is what my doctor said. Where's your benchmark? So there's actually a lot of support with coming over these injuries because so many guys have had them recently.
Yeah, and they're all exchanging information, and KLAY said that he's talked to different guys, including KD and all of that. But yes, your point about the timeline is the reason there is so much pressure on the Warriors coming into this draft, because those draft picks are more valuable when you haven't made them yet, right? Because you are offering another team in trade possibility, as opposed to offering them in trade a specific guy that you picked that they may not want. So it will be interesting to see if they make any moves leading into next Thursday, because as I said, there is a lot of just sort of, you know, elbowing and wrestling of like, hey, KLAY and Steph's timeline is here. Draymond's timeline also up there. A new kid coming in at 19, not the same timeline. And we saw that with James Wiseman this past year.